Well, it's nice to see everybody on this Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
And thought I'd be escaping the heat and humidity of the East Coast, but it's a little bit, I understand this is some high heat, so. What I want to do today is kind of give you guys an update and an overview on the testing results today. And I started more testing yesterday with follow-up testing today and all day tomorrow. So we're just, believe it or not, we're still preliminary in this process because my first trip was out here in May of this year. And one of the things I want to talk about, when I came out here for the first town hall, it was the 79th disaster I'd been to. Unfortunately, it's now 80, and it's Roseland, Louisiana. And why I want to kind of lay everything out for everybody is on social media, on my page, the people, you're not alone. The narratives are all the same. We're dealing with systemic failure from government agencies, elected officials, across all party lines. None of this is political. And I'm seeing great power in people coming together across all these communities. And that's why I want to kind of talk about, before I get into the specific results, the preliminary results from the Moss Landing testing, I want to kind of give you guys an update on where we are across the country and what's going on.
First, your name is?
Scott Smith.
Your page is called your...
Blue Shirt Justice League. There's a Facebook group called Blue Shirt Justice League where people are connecting from all the communities, and I give updates of what I'm doing on the ground.
What's the way?
Blue Shirt Justice League Face Group. It's a Facebook group. The group, not the page. Because in the group I can upload documents and people can interact more than you can on a page or a profile. That's why I started up as a group. And it's about quadrupled in since I've been here last time with all these unfortunate events. And what I want to say is I'm a small part of a very, very incredible team around me. And you'll see some things. I'm built a little bit differently. Like, so when Norfolk Southern subpoenas me in my driveway, I don't get scared. It makes my day and it motivates me. When class action attorneys hire a PR firm to try to undermine me, that motivates me. And by the way, the PR firm, I think, Emily, you know, Rebuttal PR is also out here too, so they like to follow me. So I'm going to get started a little bit. I have many motivating reasons for doing this, starting with my own disaster, which some of you heard before, but I don't use names because some of the, I've had to tell my family to unfriend me and do things like that. It just goes with the territory with some of these trolls. But my son-in-law is a fireman, paramedic, and that's my granddaughter. And what I just want to say, what really struck me, as you know, I've been in East Palestine. I went about a month ago, a year and a half later, to firemen are getting very sick. So I have I care very much about first responders that put their lives on the line. I think we've got to do more to protect our firemen and help them understand what they're exposed to. And when I went into East Palestine about a month ago, I was sick for about a week, just from handling the equipment and stuff that was exposed from the firefighters. So, and again, I get in and out quickly. I volunteer to do this, so I'm not complaining, but I can tell you I've had my nose cauterized in East Palestine after doing testing, and I've the brain fog and all that. I felt it. It goes away after a couple of weeks because I fortunately don't have to live there, but when you're experiencing these symptoms across all these communities, it's not PTSD and it's not in your head. And my granddaughter in Conyers, Georgia, the community started printing shirts on their own, and you may see on Facebook, Keenan Law. So they put Blue Shirt Justice League on the front, and then on the back they put the quote that the EPA and a lot of others don't like, that I say you can't find what you don't look for. That's the bottom line. So that's what, so next slide. Yeah, this is the background, and I won't, there are links. This will be uploaded to the group in the next day, and you'll be able to download it. These are live links if anybody wants to know about background. And you can see when I was here last time, this was the 79th. Well, we're now at 80 as of 8/22. And this all started with my own contaminated flood when I realized that water testing was flawed and so on. Go next slide. And there have been a lot of developments about surveillance and everything recently, and the Government Accountability Project, and you never know who's in the audience, who's watching. Whistleblowers are a fundamental part of my team. I hear from them all over the country now as this has escalated. That's why I like to let you know what's going on throughout the country. And again, I'm a very small part of the team, scientists, EPA people for 40 years. I gotta be careful what I say. Somebody involved in air testing, actually several people involved in air testing out here in Moss Landing knows how the air testing was gamed. So part of what I do, I can't talk about these details, but the same, when I talk about systemic failure, Conyers, Georgia, East Palestine, and now already developing in Roseland, Louisiana. So you guys are not alone with the gaming of the system. That's why, and you can always go into these links for background information. Next slide. In East Palestine, we talked about the class action attorneys. Think about that, hiring a PR firm to try to undermine somebody that wants to do good for the public and let them know what they may have been exposed to. In East Palestine, Stephen Petty was the expert for the class action attorneys. They promised to give their results and disclose what people may have been exposed to. All of a sudden, in April of 2023, they got about $200 million in fees, and they silenced the witness. And I had met him on X. I didn't know who he was working for them. We met on X and started talking. He ended up becoming a whistleblower at the Government Accountability Project. And for those of you that want to read the interviews we've done and the background, because this really does apply to what is going on here. It's the same playbook over and over again. Next slide. August 18th, which wasn't so long ago, the Government Accountability Project, which is a great legal team, and for those of you that maybe want to become whistleblowers, you can trust them with your life. Anybody wants to approach me, we absolutely protect your identity. You can stay anonymous. You don't have to go public, like a couple of us have chosen to do. But we found out, and we got the proof, that our tax dollars were being used for people at the EPA to surveil all of us, instead of testing and joining us and trying to help the community. And the link is there, I won't read that to you, but within 72 hours of my first interview about dioxins in East Palestine, the EPA was trying to track my personal information. And I think, Tanya, you've got experience that troll. I don't dignify names, but that troll appears to be not related to, but working with the EPA. He's been fed scripts from the EPA. Again, our tax dollars at work. Next slide. And this is my rescue dog, Oliver, born under the floorboard. So this is, again, we call him now the EPA's most wanted dog. That is the picture, I kid you not. Hundreds of people at the EPA circulating pictures of my dog. And that's the FOIA document and everything. So next slide. And again, Oliver's only crime is he's connected to me, so anyway. And this is what is new since the last time. And this and the data, I was on the phone with this person this morning. This is a 40-year plus, very senior EPA person that has come out as an anonymous whistleblower. He doesn't like, what's been done to me and many others, and he has to stay anonymous for now for his own protection. But you can see a link to the full press release. These are his quotes. There should be no doubt in anyone's mind that Scott Smith has expertise in environmental sampling. He goes on to say EPA should be using tax dollars to protect human health and the environment, rather than trying to unfairly smear and discredit people who develop important data that raises important doubts about EPA's self-serving narrative. Next slide. And these are the so-called receipts. So, like my personal attorney has said, this is not conspiracy theory, it's conspiracy fact.
Right.
So this is 3 days after being on the news about the dioxins. This is a Barbara McCree within the EPA. So tell us where Scott Smith is located, supply, the address, city, and state. Next slide. Again, here's your tax dollars at work. So this is monitoring my movements on the ground in East Palestine. So there are over 50 people within the EPA. And it says, at least in East, Scott Smith entered the auditorium, walked around and talked to nobody, then left, and then he was in Pennsylvania. Next slide. And this is just the beginning, because and FOIA documents are going to become very important out here too. The EPA likes to use something called the deliberative process to claim privilege. We will get this released and find out what they're, and again, I'm built like this so I can take it, but I'm more furious about the surveillance of all the residents. That's just really goes way, especially affected residents impacted by a disaster. So, and also this is Conyers, Georgia. Before, I was in the air that day, so the day before I say at the request of residents in and around Conyers, Georgia, I'll be testing soil. Always remember, you can't find what you don't look for. Is the East Palestine, Ohio playbook utilizing PR lobbying firms engaged by responsible parties for undue influence over federal and state agencies? Well, the guy undermining me at the EPA, Mark Durno, writes an email at 9:40 a.m. I landed at 11 a.m. that day, never been to Conyers, and started testing that afternoon. So before I even landed, give me a call about your response. There's the piece of information I'd like to share. And there are a bunch more emails that are blocked out with the deliberative process there. Next slide. And to top it off, this is again, these are our tax laws. The EPA gave an award for outstanding leadership in collaborative problem solving for East Palestine. All these people were involved in that. So they ended up getting an award in the EPA for surveilling residents and monitoring people instead of doing thorough, comprehensive testing and directly supporting the community. Next slide. And this came out on August 20th. There's a link to more details, and this goes into the same playbook that is going on out here. NPR, PBS, Georgia Public Broadcasting, Pam Kirkland did an extensive interview, and I walked through 25 minutes of all this, and I talked a little bit about Moss Landing too. Next slide, please. So here is the original sampling that I did. The 6 sites and 45 samples. This is where I'm going to give a brief overview of the sampling done here. And I don't use the name because she wants to stay in the background. I would be lost without this mapping support because I cannot do maps. Next slide. So this is a map of the gray dots are where the Never Against Moss Landing did this sampling. And red dots are where the nickel's above a threshold of 100 micrograms per square centimeter. And the green triangles are where we did the testing. So,
Can you repeat that, please? The red dots?
the red dots are where NAML did the sample, where nickel was above 100 micrograms per 100 square centimeters. And the gray dot is where it's below. These points here, these 2 testing points, and again, we keep this private, and I never want to be responsible for subjecting any affected residents to any harassment or smears. So, I only will discuss publicly or if someone wants their results talked about, and we code them all. So these particular points we're interested, we find interesting with the fingerprints, meaning the mixtures of chemicals and what we have found. And we do not have, everything is preliminary and subject to change. So like I said, I'm a very small part of the team, and everything continues to be in review with toxicologists, scientists, whistleblowers, EPA. There's probably about 20 people that are going through this process. And how we look at, there's 5 key points what we call chemically impacted communities. Number 1, contamination in air, water, and soil are never in equilibrium or steady state, which is why you can't make a conclusion off a handful of samples or 1 sample, and you can't find what you don't look for. Controls are necessary to determine background levels of contaminations and probable levels prior. Because what you're going to hear across all these communities is all of this was ubiquitous in the environment. It's PTSD, it's in your head. You drank too much in college, you smoked too much in college. Even though you didn't have these health symptoms before the contamination event, it's still your fault. So that's why, and again, I've got guidance from the experts I deal with about, this is a very strategic trip. I'll be sampling until sundown today, and I'll be sampling some very strategic points that I've got guidance from the experts on all day tomorrow too. And every human body burden is different. For example, pregnant nursing women and immunocompromised people. And some people may not have any health symptoms, while others are having health symptoms. That doesn't mean that anything's in anybody's head. These are real, and they're being affected from what appears to be exposures. And the fourth point is single chemical exposure is different than multiple chemical exposures. This is why I talk about, at this stage, it's about identifying what chemicals were present, what is the mixture, what is the fingerprint, and what may have been exposed to. Because I think we talked about this on one of the calls, because the other side wants to say ubiquitous in the environment, and then they're going to cite a singular exposure to a singular chemical. There are no health standards for mixtures of chemicals. So they'll cite whether it's benzene alone, whether it's some other hydrocarbon. You might be beneath the OSHA standard for that, but that's meaningless because you're bombarded with all these. Then you start mixing metals with this stuff. There simply are no health standards for that. And when you start talking about that, cumulative dose, synergistic toxicity. And synergistic toxicity is, I always use this example of aspirin with caffeine. I used to get migraines, and if I took that, it would go. But the aspirin without the caffeine wasn't effective. Well, that's a positive way, though. Now think about that. You could have a very low level of benzene, a little bit of nickel, some PFAS, and some other things. Any one of those compounds can be low, so-called medical guidance from the government on a, quote, safe level, but it's all irrelevant when you start getting bombarded with these mixtures. And this is particularly complicated with the lithium-ion battery burn because there is no, when it comes to the PFAS chemicals or the perfluoroalkyl and perfluoroalkyl substances and the perfluorooctane sulfonic acids, PFAS, that's where they tend to be somewhat ubiquitous in the environment. So this is where the fingerprint comes in, and that's why those two locations east kind of stand out as the data comes in. And again, this is preliminary, no final conclusions could be made, and the expert team has a long way in going, and I'm just the guy doing the sampling, following the guidance. Later on, the medical doctors, toxicologists, it is their role to talk about cause and effect and look at your health symptoms. But what we're seeing is ratios and fingerprints and comparisons across the different testing sites. And so what you see here is the result from the lab on the detection. These were present, and these are the various mixtures.
Do you have a handout? We can't read that.
Yeah, I'm going to upload it. So
Well,
I don't have a handout.
What about those of us on Facebook? Okay, never mind.
Okay, well,
I'll talk to you later.
I'm sure we can find somebody out here to print it out for you. So these are the various locations where we're looking at things, and then we're comparing them. And we can tell you that, benzo-B-fluoranthene, and I don't want to get too much in the technical weeds here, but like with dioxins, there's a toxic equivalency factor. It's like an index of the most different, what are called congeners. Well, when it comes to polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, they're underneath semi-volatile organic compounds. The most toxic carcinogen one is benzo-A-pyrene. The number 2 one is benzo-B-fluoranthene. And again, this is preliminary, but from my testing, that kind of sticks out. And this tends to be a far more rural area on why I'm seeing that. Now the other side is going to say, oh, it's, the level's nothing to worry about. But that's not the point. The point is what was deposited into your properties and into your homes, and what is the mixture, what is the chemicals. Mm-hmm. Next slide. And here's where we're looking at the dioxin mixtures, along with the PFAS. Now, The TEQ may come across as relatively low in the scheme of things, but the question is, this is why we gotta get the controls. Were you exposed to the dioxins combined with the PFAS, combined with the PAHs because of this event? And that's what we're trying to ascertain with the strategic sampling I'm following up on over the next 2 days. What was great for this community, like I've never seen, is the way you guys came together and did that initial metal sampling. That is invaluable as I work with the team and we try to look at things. And detections for further investigation. And again, this is by no means complete, but cadmium, cobalt, nickel, lead, vanadium. Those are all kind of standing out on people's surfaces in their soil. So people that live 5 miles apart, even 10, 15, 20 miles, why are all these different chemicals showing up? Why are you seeing the same ratios? Logic would suggest that it might be related to might be or could be related to the value.
Can you say those 5 again? Cadmium, cobalt?
Nickel, lead, and vanadium.
Okay, thank you.
And one person came up to me and talked about a hair test where a vanadium level was coming back high, I believe, just today. Well, again, this is where the expert team that I'm surrounded with comes in, because it can be very complicated about what lithium-ion batteries, and when this moves forward and gets into discovery, that again, we're just starting to analyze this, because I don't know, unless anybody from NAML knows, I don't know, can we say unequivocally that we know all the types of batteries that were burned?
No. No, not at this point. Because they haven't given me information.
See, that information, well, you know, there could be a reason they don't want that information.
Exactly.
And again, I try to summarize this so it doesn't get too far down in the weeds and technical, but we are at a stage where we can identify what appears to be mixtures of chemicals that you may have been exposed to. And then here is the soil, where we're seeing the same thing, the cadmium, the cobalt, the nickel, the lead, and the vanadium. So that's another thing, is if the ratio on top of your soil, and the metals identified, is the same ratio of the dust-like particles on your table, you know, I'm not a rocket scientist, but I think that stands out a little bit. And again, this is the slide I end with usually, and after the EPA surveillance and all the PR firms and the class action attorneys, I think the 5 Ds of public relations have been proven out. Delay, deny, discredit, dismiss, and defame. And I think you see all that going on out here. So with that being said, we are in the very early stages of this, and I get my summary results out and get them to the public as soon as I can, and I'd like to turn it over now to Attorney Mindy Bish.
Mindy Bish.
Thank you.
I am the attorney that sponsors Scott to come out and do the testing that he's doing. I represent a number of you who are here, so I want to give you a little bit of an update. We filed claims on your behalf against the County of Monterey and against the state of California. But the clients that I did have on time got filed within that 6-month window. As far as the federal claims against the EPA, we have 2 years to file the actual claim, and then you have 2 years from that date to file the lawsuit. We are in the beginning stages of doing all of my calls with client Zoom calls. They go slow. The truth is, people forget that they made the date to have the Zoom call. That's normal. So we kind of catch it up on 2 or 3 so that I can get to know you, know what your claims are, know how you're feeling, know what your needs are, so that we can begin to build our database and know what we have. I realized when I was here last that I did not tell you why I'm here. And so this week has been a particularly difficult week, this last week. I have had probably, I don't think one day last week went by where I did not get a call from East Palestine clients who were not dying of cancer.
Oh. Oh.
And on Friday, I had 3.
Oh.
And I had one call where she's not dying, but she's 23 and she has thyroid cancer. And they're gonna remove her thyroid. And one is a man who's 55 years old, and his children are still under the age of 18, both of them. And he won't be here to see them get married or have children because he was told to go home and get his affairs in order. The other man, he's older, he's 75, he has kids and he has grandkids. He had what they told him was a rare form of small cell anal cancer that they were battling, but it's spread to his organs and it's metastasized. And he was told to get his affairs in order. And by the way, he opted in to the class action and he got $800. So when you ask me why I'm here, why do I do this? I do this no matter how many people come, because everyone said, how many people will be there? I said, I don't know. Whoever's supposed to be here will be here, and I will talk to them. But here's what I'm here to tell you. If you get sucked up into the mass tort, because that's what it's I think how it's filed right now, until the judge tries to make it a class action. But right now it's a mass tort. If you get sucked up into that, I'm here to warn you of the dangers. The dangers to your health, the dangers to you, and to tell you that they are real.
What mass tort are you talking about?
Well, you have 2. You have the ones that are filed in federal court currently. They were filed by 2 different firms. You need to look at your own. If you've hired an attorney, you need to look at who that attorney is. They have a lot of clients, and I have the lawsuits that they filed on my computer, and I can show them to you. But for example, if you hired the, I think it's the Singleton attorneys, they signed up thousands and they filed a lawsuit on behalf of 4 or 5 of you. That's how you know it's a mass tort. They picked what they call their bellwether clients. So what they say is, I have a lot, let me give you these 5. I'm going to try these 5, we're going to see how it goes, and whatever happens with these 5, we're going to go back to everybody else and say, now you need to settle based on what happened to these 5. That's what they do in mass torts. That's how they work. They have no intention of trying all your cases. They may try the 4 or 5, but if you ain't them, you are now stuck with those results of the 4 or 5. You have 2 in federal court. All the other everyone who filed in federal court. You have lots of attorneys who filed on behalf of one client. They are all consolidated together. Consolidated means the judge said, oh, no, 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 no. We're not going to have all these separate cases. We're going to put them all together in one big case in front of one judge. Then what the attorneys are going to do is argue about who is the best attorney. Because you can only have one person be in charge of the deposition. And it may not be the attorney you hired. In fact, I can tell you that the firm in Burlingame is arguing they're the best attorneys and they should be the attorneys in charge and they should lead the executive committee, because they have more clients. All the actions that were filed by individual attorneys in state court, they all got what's called removed, which means they filed a motion and they asked that all those cases go up to the same federal court where everything else is. Now those attorneys fought it. They filed a motion to say no. The judge hasn't ruled on it yet, and I don't want to be dishonest about that. If the judge decides to keep it, now all your state court actions, no matter who you hired, all your federal court actions, guess where they all are? All in the same courtroom. All now with the same committee of attorneys. So you thought you had your own case, you thought you had your own lawyer, but they all filed all at the same time. And your statute of limitations is 2 years from the date of the incident. So none of them had to file anything at all. And I tell you all this so that you will understand what is going on. Because my job, whether you hire us or don't hire us, my job is to make sure you are informed and understand. Because I'm going to go to bed tonight knowing that if you chose to be a part of all that, that is your choice. And some people have said to me, Mindy, that's what I wanted. Okay. But at least you knew what you were getting into. Those lawyers, at best, misled, at worst, flat out lied to the people in East Palestine to get them to opt into that settlement. The only people who had a PR firm in East Palestine was the plaintiff class action lawyers. Not Norfolk Southern, the plaintiff class action lawyers. That's what we have going on here. A lot of the people who have cancer didn't know it for a year or a year and a half down the road. If you asked them 6 months after, they would have told you they were fine. I don't really have anything going on. So it takes time to know, are you symptom-free and are you okay? So for us, where we are different is, I will tell you honestly, I would like to file this lawsuit by the end of the year, but I'm not filing it till they all vacate my lane. I'm not going to get caught in that gunk. We have 2 years. There is no reason to get caught up with the egos of the big men in the airplanes. Right? None. We'll wait. Their greed, they will settle. Most of them want to let you know that they settle within a year. Good, go for it. Then get out of my way. Then we opt you all out if they make it a class, and we file our lawsuit. We have to file against Monterey and the state of California by about January. If I have to, I'll file just against them, no one else. To protect that statute, but also to protect you. I have all the complaints. I have the documents. I'm not telling you anything that I cannot show you if you wanted to see it. So I am here to ring the warning bell. That's what brought me from almost retiring to not retiring at all, is because I couldn't believe what I saw.
In East Palestine or here?
East Palestine. And how that started is how this is going. And here's the thing, look up Uniontown, Ohio. And you will find out that this has been happening since the late 70s, early 80s. Uniontown, Ohio was the dumping grounds of all kinds of nuclear waste and every bit of toxic dump you can possibly imagine. And it is 2025 and they are still dying and it is still dangerous. And it is not cleaned up. They had class action lawyers. They had lawyers who came in and represented a child who died of cancer. They had EPA orders to get it all cleaned up. And it is not cleaned up, and they are still dying. This is not 2020, 2010, not even 21st century problem. This is big corporations who put a dollar value on your life and made the decision it's cheaper to pay you when you die than it is to change the way they do business. And you'll have to sue them and come after them, and maybe your family won't want to do that. And if they do, then they'll have to pay you, but it'll be down the road. So when you look, you'll see. Now we have a plan. In addition to the law office, we are working on the beginnings of a nonprofit. A nonprofit that'll have two goals. One, to help people who are living in contamination and need to get out but can't afford it. So that you don't have to live in poison and die because you don't have enough money to get out. One. Two, to find solutions to clean up what we poison. I'd like to tell you that these lithium batteries places are going to go away. They're not. They are absolutely not. They are here to stay. I'm sorry. I know you want something different, but that's the truth. They are here to stay, whether they're in your backyard or someone else's backyard. All you're doing is saying, not my backyard, and then they're going to go to somebody else's backyard. Somebody else with kids, somebody else with a house, somebody else with property. Doesn't matter, but they're here. We better start to figure out how to protect the neighborhoods that those battery plants are located. How to prevent the fires. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say, you're talking about this Uniontown and nuclear waste and all that, and lithium battery waste. Some people will tell you there's really no place to put that at all. They should not do this kind of stuff in the first place. There's other technologies they could use.
Well, I'm just saying to you that it's still there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's an example of why it cannot be government. It's not government. Government's not going to fix the problem.
Yeah.
It can't be just go get money and nothing else. So I've been thinking we've got to add some kind of declaratory relief to our complaints. And we've got to get science to tell us how to clean it up so that we can ask the court for the money for the cleanup to be done by independent individuals, not the EPA, not the bad guys, because it won't get done. So we need people like Scott who go out. We need the brainchildren of all those scientists that are being laid off to come together and say, all right, we're going to have these best plans. How do we do this safely? What do we do when a fire happens? How do we prevent these natural disasters? Science has to catch up to technology. Safety has to catch up to technology. We can't sit back and just say, no, we want the rock and a stone, and we're going backwards. We're not. We're not. Norfolk Southern's gonna keep running their trains. People are gonna still need vinyl chloride. How do we get it out of the ground if it spills? Go ahead.
The companies, we're dealing with governments, and we're also dealing with utilities, semi-public companies, and then even private companies, which are not subject to FOIA. And will you have access to discovery from the other lawsuits? Did that become public information? Because Scott was referencing information that is not being provided, like the number and types of batteries that were utilized, and we don't have that information. How do we get it?
We will. But I'm not gonna tell you how, because there's too many recordings going on. And what I'm gonna tell you is we'll have all of it before we ever file a lawsuit.
Who is not subject to FOIA in this?
It doesn't matter whether they're subject to FOIA or not. We have information and people that no one knows about. We know so much more than you can even begin to imagine. Because that's my job. My job is, by the time I file a lawsuit, to look at the defendants and go, you are years behind. You're trying to litigate a lawsuit over here, and I'm already over there. Have fun. So I can't tell you more than that, because these are confidential sources to me, and I can't tell you who they are or what we know. I can only assure you that we know far more than any other lawyer out there.
So aside from lawsuits with government, both local, county, and state, and there should be also specific suits against the developers and operators. And I did some research, and a ton of these in California, I don't know about other states, are owned by foreign, like trust funds. How do we deal with, like,
You don't have to worry. There are parties you don't even know about that we do. Right, Jedediah?
Correct.
so it's not become an international case?
No. No. In fact, we think we could probably file it in another state if we wanted to.
Right. You said that these attorneys in the school want to go up to the federal court.
They are in the federal court right now.
All right, so what happens to those state and county cases? Do they just get canceled? or
Nobody
they-
else has filed against the state or counties. So the attorneys that have filed for you in state court, the state court actions are what we call stayed, which means they're all held until the federal court decides if they're all staying in federal court. So the attorneys have fought, the ones who filed in state court, many of them filed motions to fight the fact that they were removed. The court has not ruled on them, so right now all those cases are just in limbo. But if they're kept in federal court, then the state actions just, like they never happened. They're all just in one courtroom in federal court.
You're saying other firms did file against the counties, but they're all state right now.
No, there are, no other lawyer filed against the county or the state of California.
Oh, what did they file against the county?
Just all the corporations where they thought the easy pockets were.
Oh, okay.
So when you say that you have already filed against county and state,
Claim
or
forms.
claim what the difference is?
You have to give them notice of your intent of filing a lawsuit. You do that by filling out a claim form. So it's not a filing in the court, it's just a claim form that they get that says, hello, and then they reject it, and then it allows you to file a lawsuit in 6 months.
Okay, so you've done that, you're planning to also, within 2 years, file the claim against, I forget who you said, but you never did once mention Vistra, for example.
That's the lawsuit that I'm waiting for everyone to get out of our lane.
Okay.
Vistra, all those defendants on the battery, plus a few you don't know about.
Okay, so it's not that you're not doing that, you're just waiting, biding your time so that you have a clear lane.
Correct.
But your intent, in fact, it's not just your intention, but you will.
Yes.
You will be going after those guys.
Yes,
Okay,
my way.
okay.
You mean the corporations?
Yes. Everybody. Everybody joins the party.
So how updated is this information about it being in federal court? Because I was notified that they were bringing it back into state.
I looked at the court dockets just now. So I went online to the court dockets to see what the latest order was.
So it is in federal, it can't possibly go to state now?
No. What I said is there's no on the dockets. So the docket is the thing that says when the court issues an
I
order.
grew up with a DA.
Okay, all right, sorry. I just wanted to make sure. So when I checked all the dockets before I came up here to make sure I had the most current information from the dockets themselves. And when I check the dockets, all I see is all the state court actions are still stayed, and that there is no order posted on the federal court docket that says that there was a ruling.
Didn't you mean that, the opposite?
No, no.
I
The
thought you just
state
said
court
that
act,
nothing was going through the state, it was all in federal.
no. The state court actions were filed, they were removed to federal court.
Right.
When you remove something to federal court, those state actions still have a case number, they still exist. They get stayed, which means like they're here, but we don't do anything with them. We just.
Stay, you're saying stay, not state then.
So then I went to the federal court docket to see if the judge had issued a ruling on that motion to remand back to state, and I see no order. So, like I said, you can win and go back, that's a possibility, I'm not saying that it's not. I just don't see anything. What I see is the state actions are stayed and the federal court has no order yet.
We're being informed that there's no objection to bringing it back to state.
Oh, that's not true. That is, there was a, that I know is not true. The plaintiff's counsel filed a motion to remand, that's what you call it. So the defendants remove it to federal court, and there was no, all the defendants agreed. They all stipulated, yes, it should be in federal court. Then the plaintiffs filed what you call a motion to remand, which says, no, this is a mistake, send us back. The court took arguments on that motion, I think back in March or April, is that the right date? Jedediah?
It's about the right date.
Yeah.
So PG&E filed the motion to remove because what they said is, you only filed against us because you wanted to keep it in state court. So they were viewing themselves as PG&E as a fake defendant. We're not really involved, you think we're close by, therefore you want to bring us in so you don't have to go to federal court. Obviously, we all know that's not right. PG&E is obviously involved. And so what they did was remove it. The plaintiffs then said, this is why it should come down, and that's what they're fighting about right now. That's why, with the people that we know, the parties that are involved, there's way more than just two parties. There's way more than just what's going on and what's being told. So that's why Mindy's plan and our plan is we need to let them try to do their thing, they're gonna try to get it done quickly, and then everybody else who's dealing with the health effects, we can try and help them.
That if all these cases stay in federal court, you are going to end up in a mass tort. Whether you have individual representation or not, your cases are going to end up being a mass tort. Pay attention to what happens. That's all I'm saying. If they go back to state court, then the cases in state court will all get consolidated. Just pay attention to what's happening. The lawyer you hire may not end up being the lawyer in charge in that courtroom. It depends on how the judge wants to handle it. That is why I don't file for a long time, so that I can let all the people who file quickly get through all this stuff and go away. It's a distraction for me. That is the way I do it. I also do it this way because my experience is that whatever your symptoms are, whatever your testing is, it will take time to know the real health effects. And I don't want to file so soon that I either get in front of a jury or they're talking resolution only to find out that 6 months later you have cancer. I would rather take my time and let everything play out. That's the problem. Your statute of limitations on a toxic tort for your personal injury is 2 years from the date you get sick. So if you're perfectly well right now, you don't even have to file. You can sit back and do nothing and wait and see. I don't want you to be the person who settles for $800 and finds out you're dying. That's it. He didn't know he was dying at the time he signed the form agreeing to the $800.
I think that I'm understanding the benefits that you're describing, but I just wanted to hear you clarify, is there any risk for waiting? Because I could imagine that people might be worried of, if I don't go along with all these lawsuits that are already happening, then I'm gonna somehow get diminished results in my lawsuit by waiting.
No, because guess what? They all fight it out. They all take whatever depositions they take. They all float all this stuff around. They all do law in motion. They all do whatever they're going to do. My concern is not the liability. My concern is your health. My concern is that I don't get a phone call from you after I've settled your case or after the trial, God forbid, when you have gotten a verdict based on your health today to find out it happened too soon.
So it's not like when you're ready, somebody's gotten sick, it's a year on, it's still within the statute of limitations. It's not like the court is gonna be like, oh, you missed the chance.
No.
But they'll take your case separately?
No.
Is that the idea?
Yes, and it doesn't matter. If this was a truck crash, okay? Let's say a truck crashed and it burned a bunch of houses and we had a policy limit we were worried about. All right, you all go file, right? Because there's a finite amount of money. That's not here. There'll be enough today, there'll be enough tomorrow, there'll be enough a year from now, there'll be enough 2 years from now, there'll be enough 3 years from now. Let's find out what happens. These cancers affect the most vulnerable first, the health effects hit the most vulnerable first, and then the health effects filter down to the healthier people next. Not everybody's going to get sick. Not everyone's going to have cancer. Not everyone's going to have an issue. But don't you want to know before you act? That's it.
Based on your experience with the prior spill and the people who are dying, was there any general advice that came out of that or is coming out of that insofar as identification of your potential, for instance, a PET scan every 6 months? Something that would not just have you waiting until you get sick, but something that you, a step or a measure that you can take in advance.
I
Was
tell-
there anything that came out of that?
Well, no, but what I do now is I tell the people I talk to, make sure you are on top of your cancer screenings. If you're a woman and you have your breast cancer screenings, make sure you're doing them timely. If you feel off in your body, don't wait, go. These are fast move, what we're seeing in East Palestine, which may not be what you see here. Please understand, it may not be. But what I'm telling clients in East Palestine is these cancers are fast-moving cancers that we're seeing. Don't get behind on your screenings. Don't miss your yearly exams. Don't fail to tell a doctor if you're feeling off. Be your best advocate for your own health.
I'd like to add something, if I could. I think this may be coincidence. I'm Ed Mitchell, I live in Prunedale, the other side of the highway. In October last year, I went in and had dermatology check my skin, mainly because my girlfriend said, you got all these things growing on your back, go in there. And I went in. She did a full body screen, no cancer. 3 weeks ago, I went into the new dermatologist. That guy left the VA, and a new doctor came in. We went through the same process. And with the first doctor, he took 4 or 5 samples and sent them off to be tested for cancer. They all came back negative. This doctor looked at me, said there's a growth here in your back. I think we should dig it out. She did. It was cancerous. So it may be coincidence, but it sure fits into your analogy, and I will be going back again in a few months to check out the rest of it.
How many people here got their blood tested fairly quickly after the event? How many?
What do you mean by fairly quickly?
Well, within a month or two. For what? For heavy metals. Okay.
And remember that the metals may be in the dust that's outside your home. How many of you are, after you cleaned your home, are taking your shoes off from when you walk from outside and walking into your home without your shoes on? Has you thought about the fact that the dust from outside, if it's contaminated with heavy metals, when you go out of your home and you walk on it, when you walk back into your home, that dust is on your shoes. And what you're doing is you're just bringing it right back in to your home.
I have a question about that. We both live next to each other, and we both did soil samples, and other people seems like their soil came back okay, but then other people said the metals tend to clump together, and it kind of like...
If it were me, I would not wear my shoes into my home. I would just have a place outside that I just put my shoes in, walk in my door, have a pair of slippers if I don't like being barefoot, that never go outside, slip them on, or house shoes and slip them on, but I would not wear the shoes I wear outside, inside my home, because I don't, just know, it sounds silly, but think about it. The contaminants are in the dust. The dust blows in the wind. It's not like the dust in front of your house just stays at your house and never goes to my house. God, I wish. But, so, take your shoes off. You asked me, do I give advice? This is it. Take your shoes off. Put your shoes at your front door. Stop wearing them into your home because you may be bringing contaminated dust into your home. Run your air filters inside. Make sure you're doing everything you can so that your inside air is clean, so that you can feel safe in your own home.
Another question is,
because I thought tomorrow they're supposed to be starting cleanup down there.
That was the remediation they started. In East Palestine, they saved the worst for last, because I've got revised updates that Norfolk Southern makes $1.2 million an hour. I thought it was like a day, but it's an hour. That comes from a credible source. So they had the first event, which was the derailment. The second one was the burn. The third event appears as though it may be the worst, that dust traveled with dioxins and all kinds of contaminants on the remediation. So you got to be very careful that, and it looks like that may be the worst event of the three. We don't know for sure, but I tested trends over time, and to put it in East Palestine, over the last 2.5 years, I've made 30 trips and 34 rounds of testing. And I'm the only one that has the trends over time about how it spread, and it actually got worse because the whole scientific team is telling me it's the dust.
So would the start of cleanup or / remediation fallacies be another incident, or is that is that included in the same incident?
So I had my name's Emily Francis Cohan. I'm a filmmaker, and I've been working with Never Again Moss Landing, and I happened to be on the meeting, the most recent one, where the EPA talked to us about their plans for cleanup. I'll be honest, I keep hearing different start dates. So I heard that they were starting over a week ago. I don't know the actual start date.
It's actually been put on hold again.
Okay.
Was the last information that I got. It will not be starting tomorrow. One thing that Never Again Moss Landing has been trying to get since January is what is actually in the ash. And EPA said that they will be taking the debris and whatnot away, and I said, well, then everybody knows exactly what's in it. Because no disposal site would accept that crap without knowing what's in it. So they know exactly 100% what's in that ash, and they still have not publicized it.
Yes.
They will not give it to us.
Exactly. And Tanya was at the same meeting that I was at. So I just want to summarize what we found out. They do not have any plans to contain it with like a tent while they clean up. They've thought about maybe, and I don't really believe them, is my take, but they said maybe they'll consider covering parts of it as they clean parts of it. My understanding is that the plan now, which is very long, they didn't say this amount of time, but we all know that it could take easily a year for them to clean it up. They know it will take a long time. Is that they are going to process through the material on site. The EPA is not actually doing any testing on site. They have a plan with a contract to, is it DTSC?
It's
CTEH. Sorry. CTEH is doing the monitoring of the Vistra cleanup. So the EPA had a document.
Go ahead, wait. All right. Did you see him laugh?
Yeah.
Okay. CTEH. If you trust CTEH,
What does it stand for?
We do not.
it doesn't, they're a huge company.
Corruption.
They're a bunch of liars. If you see them in your neighborhood, take your cameras out and videotape everything they do.
Yeah, 100%.
Do not allow them to go near anything. You don't care what they say. Do not be intimidated if they try to call the police. They are hired and paid for by every major corporation. They are part of the reason that the sample in East Palestine was taken. The control sample in East Palestine was taken from a contaminated area. CTEH was part of that.
So basically what I told the EPA during this meeting is that it's very much like finding out somebody probably murdered somebody with a gun and then giving that person the gunshot residue test kit and saying, I trust you to test yourself. Because that's what they're doing. Vistra is doing the cleanup, and then they have CTEH EPH on board to monitor.
The EPA only has control over the Moss Landing site within the fence, and that's just to oversee it. They're not doing any of the testing, they're not doing any of the cleanup. Also, the cleanup cannot start, the removal cannot start because the building has not been stabilized. So, as the building is being stabilized, that's gonna stir up dust. Again, you guys don't know any more than I do about what's in that dust, other than it's making us sick.
Calendars, I see you, calendars, get a calendar.
The wind does.
A calendar, get a calendar, regular calendar, you can buy them, you can print them out for free on your computer. Calendars. Write down. What you're gonna see is this. You will know when somebody's working. You will not feel well on that day. That's how you'll know they're working. Somebody's doing something because all of a sudden this morning, I felt really awful. Calendar. Take on the calendar, write, today felt bad. That's all you have to do. Circle the date. Do something that jogs your memory so that later on, whoever is representing you can trace that date to what was happening on that work site based on those orders.
If I could find out the days that they start to clean up, my husband and I fly over the power plant at different times, and I've taken aerial shots of the power plant. And if I knew they were doing the cleanup, I could take aerial photos of the power plant. As long as it's not foggy. If it's foggy, we can't fly.
I have something to add.
Excuse me, I want to say something. I'm really concerned about our food supply. There are crops all over this area, very even adjacent to that power plant. We all need to be thinking about our food supply. Yes. Really?
Let me cover a few quick things. First of all, the crops, I've been actively looking for any crops that may have been impacted to be able to test. There appears to be a lot of suppression on that. I'm going to go back. Whistleblowers are coming out of the woodwork. I cannot be mad at the EPA for surveilling me because all this going public. Whistleblowers are coming every day. Even the class action attorneys hiring a PR firm is driving whistleblowers to me. And there's a lot I cannot say. I know why they're probably delaying the cleanup on the dust. And my first phone call when I get into my car is going to be to the expert team to get more guidance. I'm probably going to be told to be back out here for when that dust starts. So someone giving me notice, and I know. And what the whistleblower scientist told me this morning, he said, Scott, all you know to know about CTH, they were the firm that supported industry and said cigarette smoking doesn't cause cancer.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that until this morning. So do you need to know anything else?
I want to let the people know I'm trying to answer your question. Never Again Moss Landing has been the proactive, transparent organization that's been reaching out, trying to get information and protection for our people. We sent a letter. It was signed by the 4 co-founders. I drafted the letter. And we sent it to the EPA, giving them 7 days to turn over to us by law the pollution profile that they are supposed to generate on any contamination site. We did that after we received the joint agreement from VISTRA and EPA that said, and it had a section, findings on fact. That finding on facts, there was nothing, zero said about what the pollution was at the site. We wrote the letter, sent it to them, and said we wanted the results. We wanted that profile. It's been 7 months. They wrote back to us, I sent you a copy. Their reply came in yesterday, and again, they had zero information about the profile. What we're concerned about, we sent letters to the Congress people from this area, assembly members, Newsom, pointing out that we're concerned about the workers and the local public and people doing transportation, that if EPA doesn't know, if they don't have the profile, why can they proceed forward with cleanup? We think to some degree we might have helped cause a little bit of a delay. But we're now going to file with the another person on our team a FO, a Freedom of Information Act, is saying, we asked, and now we want this other information by this law. We don't know that we can get it before they start cleaning. We brought up the issue of dust. And they, in the letter, I need your feedback on it, it appears that they just poo-pooed the dust. That's where we're at, we're trying to help.
Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna try to review the letter on the plane, but I can't, I know exactly what's going on and everything just tied together, and that's, I gotta leave it at that. But also, Moss Landing, for those of you who know, I had a leg injury with a quad tendon tear. I was in the operating room coming out the day, I'm to fix a quad tendon the day of the Vistra battery burn, and woke up my phone, and until I was off medication, I didn't get out here till May. So, but it's not too late for testing. But my point is, soot and ash, anybody that has any way at all possible to get soot and ash. And I've got, if anybody thinks they can get it, I've got my portable testing sampling lab out there. I can give you sample jars. If you can get your hands on any or know where anybody is, I'll give you the jars today. Then I'll give you a FedEx number to FedEx it securely to me.
You want to show them?
Scott, you were talking about on site, correct?
On site or even off site, and the soot and ash, because
Oh, well.
I've seen enough of what's in that eastern zone
Yeah.
to see some very suspicious distribution of all this stuff.
What area?
Elkhorn Slough area.
The gray black part is what was in the emergency operation plans.
Oh.
And then the little red X's are where the samples were taken.
Any filters you have, any impacted crops, Ziploc, I prefer a glass mason jar if you don't have an official sampling jar, but a Ziploc bag will do fine. And if you big filters, hefty trash bag, unscented if possible, just seal it up.
Yeah.
And also for any of you that have hair samples, I heard something today about metal showing up in a hair sample. Get your sample to whoever your lawyer is. Get your sample to the lawyer right away and say, you need to see a medical expert. Because I heard something today that is a red flag for me. So hair samples may turn out to be key for metals. Yes?
Will you or anybody else that you know of be doing any seabed testing inshore, in harbor, or in the slough?
I would like to do that. I need to talk it over with, because I got a whole team I get guidance. So the answer is possibly.
What about testing fish that they're trying to sell from this area?
The Elkhorn Slough Foundation is going to be testing invertebrates and fish, and they're looking for volunteers to assist.
I mean,
Lori's been doing work.
Yeah, they have been.
They're serving in restaurants.
Don't eat it.
Yeah.
Generally offshore.
I have, obviously, with what I'm learning here, especially the dust, I have to make a lot of phone calls, and I'll do that in between sampling around here in the next few days and get in.
I'm wondering if anybody knows if San Jose State is still doing their sampling?
Yes, they
I'm
are.
sure they are.
Problem, I applaud everybody's effort to try to protect our health, but the real problem is the structural domination of the corporate state. Pollution is profit for the corporations, and I am dismayed when I hear people say, oh, we can't stop it, it's here to stay. That, like the lithium batteries, that may be so, but the consequences are here, and there are myths and truths. And it's a myth to say you can clean up these forever ubiquitous chemicals. And the tremors I have are from pesticide exposure, teaching next to fields of pesticides in Watsonville, and the wireless radiation does the same thing, and I feel like my tremors are worse since this fire. But our effort, I think, needs to be to try to stop it, but we're up against the system. And thank you for what you're doing.
Yes.
I have a question about the testing that you've been doing in the Elkhorn area. For those properties that have been sampled, I understand that that data is going to be made public without identifying, the property owners or so forth. But what about the interpretation of that data? Is that only being done for people who are with Mindy's law firm? Or will those property owners get help interpreting that data that they can then share with their?
The general summary we make available, I can't comment as the cause and effect, but I have a scientific team that I can comment on a general basis about. But as far as any details or legal conclusions or cause and effect, that's for lawyers to do.
Where will it be available? On your Facebook?
Like this, I'm going to upload my presentation tonight. I mean, you have what you need and what you've potentially been exposed to and what we release publicly.
So everybody is responsible, or their attorneys are responsible for interpreting the data that's
Yeah, because I don't,
being made
because
available.
believe me, with the scrutiny on me, and I accept it, but I am not a medical doctor in
Right,
cause
no,
and
I
effect and interpretation. I'm not being evasive, I'm just protecting
Oh,
people.
I
and,
understand
you know,
that,
and
Scott.
there are, and again, I am a small part of an extensive team, and a team works very well because we leave egos at the door and everybody stays in their lane. And it's a team that I wish I'd be able to reveal it all, but you don't want me to because a lot of it is whistleblowers, and we need to keep it quiet.
That's the role of a toxicologist.
Yeah,
Is
medical
to-
doctor,
yeah.
toxicologist.
Can you please put up the?
If you do have a sample that you took, which I did, because we moved and I knew we had contaminants, how would I get them to you within the next couple of days? Because I did put it in a Ziploc, and I did,
Is it soil?
well, no, it's residue off the back of my barbecue.
I'm very interested in that residue. Does anybody have access to soot and ash that dropped in your yard?
Yes.
I'm desperately looking at that for my team of experts.
I was curious, so as you know, Parkfield battery plant caught on fire yesterday. And luckily they were able to put it out. I have heard that with battery systems like this one that have caught on fire, it's very likely it will actually catch on fire again. As you know, it caught on fire a month after the original fire. What should we do? What should we be prepared for testing? As I was getting ready to go film Parkfield, and luckily they'd put it out before I left, I'm like, how do I help with testing? What can we be prepared for just in case there's more fire?
That's a great question. I will leave you with some sample jars for ash, some official lab jars. And my phone started going off last night, but I have 5 active projects now, and Louisiana is just when I say I thought I've seen it all from Conyers and East Palestine. East Palestine, things were more invisible. Conyers, Georgia, soot and ash was raining down. In Louisiana, pools turned black, like someone felt it was raining oil, soot, and ash. So my point is I can, and when I saw that last night, what I can do is facilitate and help people take samples. And the kind of chemicals are forever chemicals, they stay around for a long time. So if you secure the samples and put them in the refrigerator, it'll be good. But was there soot and ash raining down in January? As I couldn't get here, obviously, because I explained what.
I think it was, you could see it in the air, but it was really small particles.
Yes.
Yes. So,
And then it turned dark, and then it got dark.
Yeah.
yeah.
The sun went down, so you could really see.
I'd love to get my hands on some of the debris inside the wall.
It wasn't like a forest fire where you see lots of ash raining. It wasn't anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a concern, never again Moss Landing, about dioxin possibly being within the ash residue that's sitting on Moss Landing area. And that we've not been able to get information about what the pollution is there. Is it reasonable that if dioxins are there, that they are dangerous to the workers on site and can be blown downwind?
Absolutely. Now, I've got a lot of experience, and I've learned the older I get and the more experience I get, my instincts are usually right. Now, if the cleanup is being delayed, there is no doubt that Vistra and the EPA know exactly what's in there. And again, everything I say is preliminary, subject to change, but I can tell the initial data suggests that we did find some potential dioxins closer in on surfaces, But the soil outside, I don't have enough data to make a final conclusion. The soil further away may be okay. But again, I want to be very careful about the valleys. I don't want to panic people, and I do not want to give you a false sense of security. But I could say that initially, but we're going to get more data in. But this delay of the dust, that's no coincidence, that's no accident. They're worried about something. And again, I got to be careful to zip my lips. I know exactly how the air testing is being gained forward.
Are you familiar with that, yesterday there was another Best fire in Monterey County? It is a giant solar plant facility. And they have a BESS system there to store the energy. I do not know how big it is, how big the fire was. No one's been able to get that information out. Parkfield is in the middle of nowhere, that's why you guys have never heard of it.
Parkfield has a lodge, a restaurant, and a fire station.
Yes, they do.
That's what they got.
And lots of cattle.
Yes.
An incredible amount of cattle. So they did do a 2-mile radius evacuation. I'm going to tell you how many people that affected. 18. Now, but they didn't give any information. The winds were blowing horrible down there. It was blowing east-west. No information went to the people east-west. Now, to the west, it's going to hit Paso and San Miguel. To the east, it's going to take a while to get to the valley. But, you know, you're heading to Bakersfield. So that happened yesterday.
Parkfield is very, very close to the San Andreas. There's a major earthquake monitoring
Well,
station in
it's on the
Parkfield.
San Andreas.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
on the San Andreas, yes.
My friends own the 20,000-acre cattle ranch that basically is Parkfield.
So, the Varians.
Yeah.
Yes, grew up down there.
Yep.
So they should be testing the cattle?
Well, we don't even know where the cattle are at this point. And actually where California Flat is, which is the name of the project, is owned by the Hearst Corporation. So the Variants are running cattle on Hearst,
Right.
but they could be 10,000 acres away. This is what we don't know is where the cattle are held. Because you're moving cattle year in and year out. So, you know, we don't know, but again, here it is. That, if you're watching the trend, I hate to take over you, sorry.
That's okay.
I've been following the trends of when the fires happen. And they tend to be 4 to 5 years out, is when the failures happen. 4 to 5 years out from when they started the upstart of the battery storage. And they will tell you all that the battery storage facilities have a 20-year life. Well, they're all lying because they're all failing at 4 to 5 years. So now, what y'all need to be looking for is, okay, they put this one in, I'm pulling the name out of the hat because I don't know what I'm talking about. But Fred's solar plant that has the BESS in it, that was put in 2021, that's the next one that's going to fail. I mean, I'm not saying exactly that's the next one that's going to fail, but they're failing it's 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
How long has Tesla been in Moss Landing? They did
Same amount of time as Vistra.
Who's contacting the farm workers?
We are.
Okay.
We have the gentleman that's sitting over there, or this gentleman there, right there waving his hand. We have Francesca, who's part of our team. She is a Spanish-speaking attorney. So she was down here. She is working with Spanish-speaking organizations that work directly with the farm workers. And she's been down here a couple of times to do the reach out. She is a Spanish speaker herself. She is Hispanic. She comes down here. She speaks to the clients who are Spanish speaking. We have all of our retainers are Spanish speaking retainers. When they call her office, they speak Spanish, she speaks Spanish. So we make sure that we have an outreach, and she's working with a lot of, like I said, the Spanish-speaking organizations here in town that work directly with farm workers.
Thank you.
By the way, I could use a plane in Louisiana next week. You want to fly the plane to Louisiana? I'm not kidding.
So exciting.
But originally, there was a few other fires prior to the big fire at Moss Landing. And I live I own a house a quarter mile from the Best plant, and absolutely heard nothing. What happened when they cleaned up? Who were the people that cleaned up? Oh, is everything okay? I heard nothing, you know. And the other thing is the numerous violations that have been in court against Tesla and Vistra. Both of them, and Tesla just got slapped, I don't know, I think a year ago with their car plants. And they had a big lawsuit, multi-county, cleaning up their car paint. They said, well, we'll clean it up, no problem. We'll have our folks do it. And they were dumping it, you know, in indiscreet areas. That's just one. There's a whole list of them, especially Vistra. Vistra has a long history, years and years and years of violations. And I think that it would be kind of important that maybe if someone, you know, might want to go through those lawsuits, we might find a bingo, this is kind of like ours.
Yeah, we got those, and that is what's going to support our punitive damage claim.
Yeah, so that, I just thought I'd bring those two little tidbits up.
Scott, is anybody testing for radioisotopes? Nina Beatty, who's talked at some of these NAML types of events.
I know I haven't at this point, and I can't speak.
I wanted to mention that she has told us, Marilyn, right over there, told Marilyn that she has found evidence that there was a breeder reactor at Moss Landing. So I don't know if that's true. I don't know anything about it. Marilyn just told me that. Did you just tell me that?
Yeah, a friend of mine
And she's been
researched
very
that,
active
didn't know
in this
anything about
situation,
that.
this area. So I don't know
decades
I
ago.
don't know what she found or where that data is coming from. But I just wanted to mention that. I don't know anything more beyond what I just said.
That would be hard to keep secret.
Yeah. I just want to mention just this.
Any other questions?
Yeah, well, it's not a question. We were discussing dioxin. As I understand it, dioxin is the main ingredient, if not one of the main ingredients of what's known as Agent Orange, which is a chemical warfare. They use it in Vietnam.
That's absolutely true, and dioxins are a whole range of compounds, and the index is complicated, but it's comprised of all toxic ones, and TCDD is what mainly Agent Orange is, but that's absolutely correct about the dioxins and Agent Orange, because it kills everything, it makes all the trees. That's why the vets came back, and a lot of them died that were exposed to it.
Yeah. Well, we live in Prunedale for the last 33 years, and I also belong to an organization called CASI, California Arts and Sciences Institute.
You know Michael?
Yes, and actually, CASI is considering doing a informational meeting about Moss Landing. And what we are looking for are stories from individuals and how they've been affected. Listening to what's happened so far and what's been presented so far, it seems me like we may wish to wait a little bit longer before we do that, so we can wrap our hands around, get our arms around it a little bit better, rather than present things piecemeal. But I will be reporting back to Cassie what's been spoken today, and I will keep anybody and everybody alerted through, I guess, Never Again Moss Landing?
Yes.
As to any potential upcoming event.
Michael met with Never Again Moss Landing.
I want to make another point, because that's why I like to introduce these communities on social media, but knowing what I've seen in East Palestine about the third event being look like it's worse the first two. I don't want this to happen here, but they know something about that dust and the remediation, that could end up being worse than, you might not see a billow of smoke, but you'll see little particles that the human eye can't see depositing and going into your lungs. Something's I'm so glad we had this meeting. I didn't know that that was being delayed the way it was being delayed. So this has a long way to go.
Well, it's the removal of the ash and whatnot, and the batteries, that is on the delay part. The damage, making the building safe.
Stabilizing.
Thank you, stabilizing the building. That's going to disturb the dust as it is. Driving around there is going to disturb the dust. So the dust is happening. Moving a giant pile of it and taking it on the highway and bringing it by my house and not hitting your house, thank goodness, because you live over here, but I live here. That isn't happening right now, but they're going to disturb it.
In East Palestine, there's a direct correlation from my testing about the truck traffic moving things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And the tires, and you can cover it all you want. That's how I know this.
And you can't water. Keep the
Are
dust
you
down.
gonna test for lithium? Looking at your test sheet here, I don't see lithium on it.
No, in this first round, we didn't test for lithium.
Okay. Are you going to, do you think?
It depends on what the expert team says, and, they had their reasons. Again, I want to be careful because it's all being recorded.
Because Monterey County did not test for lithium. Or wait a minute, one of the counties did it, one of them did, I can't remember which is which. One of them tested for lithium, one did not, I can't remember.
Yes.
So, hearkening back to what Mindy said, this technology is not going away. In Santa Cruz County, there's a BESS, lithium BESS project that's in permitting. Our county supervisors just postponed a year the ordinance to regulate it. The developers are now saying they're going to go to the California Energy Commission and bypass all of the local jurisdiction. The only hope, I think, that we have is our fire department. And knowing what you know, what would you impress upon fire officials to demand in a pre-plan and risk assessment for a lithium-ion BESS facility?
I think it would start with having to disclose monthly, not yearly or 2 years, with draconian fines if you don't disclose everything that's going on at the site. And I would go out to third-party engineers and force as a condition of them putting it in, because from what I'm hearing, this is way beyond what I do, just what I hear, that the billion-dollar companies just don't want to spend the money in the event there is a fire to contain it. There's a way to do that. So I would, that's a great question. I would reach out to engineering experts and a variety of people and put demands. And then there's great power, and if you bring attention to it on social media and the court of public opinion, it's very effective. Look at what's going on right now with all this work in Louisiana and other places.
Who can we trust for third-party engineers and evaluators?
That's a good question. I don't have an answer for you, but I can try to get you one.
Yeah, we can talk to our toxicologists and people that we work with to find out who you can trust. We can talk with our experts to find out what the plan is. We have some idea as to why this fire started. We have some inside information about what was built incorrectly. So let me see how we can get an answer to your question without putting our inside information at risk, so that you can at least have something to go by.
Thank you.
Some of it is that our planet is warming up and things are getting hot that aren't expected to be this hot. And that's causing a lot of the wildfires, that's causing a lot of these fires that we see happening are happening. So we gotta figure it out.
Yes.
So the government involvement in this, and I know the Air Force works with the EPA because I witnessed an Air Force chopper flying through the slough and they were shooting disposable drones out the window. I later found information on those disposable drones, and they are disposable. They literally go out, do their job, and then die. So, and this was while the batteries were boiling in between the initial fire and the flare-up. So they're well aware that those chemicals, you know, if those batteries are boiling and they're not on fire, you see those chemicals coming out of the roof. But you don't see a smoke, and if the lighting's not just right, you might not even see the chemicals. So everybody that was breathing what smelled and tasted like pesticides or bleach, that was the chemicals for the whole month of the flare. So is there any way to, you know, you guys were talking about the Freedom of Information Act, is there any way to find out, I mean, I've got pictures of the helicopter, I've got pictures of CTEH hiding sensors and pretending that they were water pumps, they were testing the rainwater when they said clearly right on them that they were air pumps, and you can download the manual for them. But is there any way, if you've got that helicopter photo, it's got the, you know, all the tags on it and everything, you can use that to get information on what the results of the test were?
Yeah, but that's gonna go towards a lawsuit. So the way the government works, just so that you know, you cannot sue the EPA for lying. You cannot sue the EPA for intentionally hiding information. Can't do it.
Wow.
They're immune. They can lie through their teeth, and they're immune.
Wow.
So if you look at the case in Flint, it gave you a roadmap of how you successfully sue the EPA. So what you do is you go to the EPA's, basically the laws of what the EPA is supposed to do in these kinds of events. And you say that they negligently failed to do what they were supposed to do. So in this case, the EPA, what we're saying is, in the car, the EPA sat in the back seat when they're supposed to sit in the driver's seat. And that's what they did, and that, according to their mandate, they're supposed to be in the driver's seat. So the information that you've got is helpful when it comes time to file that action against the EPA. Because that's the hidden information that the EPA has that we're gonna go get through the whistleblowers that have come forward to be able to show that the EPA negligently failed to follow their mandate. So that's why you'll see a lot of the clients in East Palestine have been very trained. We do not say that the EPA lied to us. We say the EPA took the back seat when they're supposed to be in the front. Therefore, letting the wrongdoers take the lead and making us all vulnerable. And if they're gonna do that, then shutter the agency, because they're useless. They don't follow their mandate. They lull us into a false sense of protection that doesn't exist.
Well, I think that's the point.
Yeah, so therefore, they shouldn't, because half of them, basically what they do is they leave their EPA job, and you wanna know who they go work for?
The industry.
CTEH. Pays them big bucks, and they go work for them.
Wait, oh, when they get out of CTA, they work for,
Dude, go look at CTEH and see how many ex-EPA people now work at CTEH, and then you'll know why CTEH is there and nobody touches it.
Can I ask you why you haven't started testing for lithium yet?
Not here.
Okay.
I really can't answer that right
Well,
now.
I will say Santa Cruz County tested for lithium, Monterey did not. I know that
Yeah.
because I looked at it.
Yeah.
So would it be,
By the way, as far as CTEH, I have a different, from what I've seen in my experience, a lot of these EPA people are auditioning for their job to take early retirement. If you audition for your job and you play ball with the CTH script, you can retire from the EPA in your 40s and go to work for CTH for $300,000 to $500,000 a year.
And get your retirement benefits that we pay for.
So we're paying for it the whole way.
Double dip, yeah.
So I want to make one comment that was really blatant that they did to game the air quality in Moss Landing. So Never Again Moss Landing requested, well, one of the things we requested was the air monitoring data from the 18th of January from the morning. If you go to the website, you'll see that there's a gap. You do not see the air monitoring data for the morning of the 18th. Yet, we were able to uncover this email from the EPA to the County of Monterey, and it includes Vistra, CAL FIRE, and OEHHA. And they say in here, please find the summary data for the fixed monitoring locations for the morning of the January 18th, 2025 from 0500 to 1100. It includes a figure of the stations, and you can see the summary. It says the max concentrations were relatively high, which is a complete understatement. But we're hoping that to have the averages incorporated into the next report, which will help provide context. Or I'm pretty sure what that means will bury and dilute the sample. If you look at this email, the peak amount of particulate matter that they found at Station 9 was 1.25 milligrams per meters cubed, which is 1,275 micrograms per meter cubed, which if you look at the EPA Air Quality Index, it only takes 350 micrograms to be considered hazardous. So it was quadruple the hazardous level. And if you were to go look at the other EPA Air Quality Index for hazardous, that means health warning of emergency conditions. Everyone is more likely to be affected. So the fact that they won't give us that data is just one of the ways in which, one, they did summaries to make the data look like it was less. We obviously had peaks in which we were exposed to highly hazardous levels, but they also, the EPA won't give us that data. I filed a request.
FOIA?
FOIA, yes. They told me, oh, go to the website. I said, in my request, I specifically said the website doesn't have this data. And then I filed an appeal, and they gave me 4 of the 9 stations, and I said, no, I want Station 9. I want all the stations, really, but I specifically want Station 9, because after that moment on the 18th of the morning, if you look at the data provided, there was no data for Station 9 the entire time, except for the morning of the 18th, which they won't give us. So, like I said, they're definitely gaming the air quality data, and it's part of the reason why I'm really happy to be including them in the lawsuit, because they're obviously,
Dirtbags.
yeah, they're part of it.
Sounds like
Station 9 is, Station 9 is 2.3 miles northeast of the plant. So just above the Elkhorn. So if you're traveling up the 1, it kind of curves back inward. It's right near, there's like a mobile home park there, the 76 station, right near the 76 station on Highway 1.
A lot of farms there.
Yep.
Yes.
And by the way, the evacuation yesterday for Parkfield was only 2 miles. So this is already further than they're still evacuating for in future burns.
Did anybody save their messages from the county to stay indoors and shut your windows? I did.
I have it printed.
I saved my messages from the county.
I printed
And that
out
went off for days. I live just east of the plant.
Well, but did you get not the one that came on the phone?
Yeah,
But
one
what
on
the
phone.
health-
I saved those.
What the health one said to do? Wear a respirator. This was a month after the fire. You're supposed to wear a respirator because all you people own a respirator.
Well, at least,
All of you.
at least they told you to wear a respirator. In
Now,
biolabs,
now, mind you, this was a month after the fire when they told us there were no problems, so no.
in biolabs, they told people you were safe in your homes, just go inside and turn off your air conditioner, while they had people in hazmats out in front of these same people's homes taking tests.
Where was that?
In Atlanta, outside of Atlanta.
Well, they told us to go in our home and close the doors and windows. And every home in this area is older than hell, and so closing the windows not gonna do a damn thing.
You know, I have a name for that. There's no such thing as shelter in place. It's called forced exposure in place.
Yeah.
Well,
But can you imagine going in your home, thinking that, okay, they told me I'm safe in here, and looking out your window and seeing people in hazmat uniforms crawling around outside? Right? In East Palestine, they told everyone to come home. Mike DeWine drank a glass of water, which, by the way, we think came from a bottle, not from the sink. And he told everyone to come home, and the class action lawyers have a client who went to work that day, wasn't anywhere near any contamination until the day they told him it was safe, went back to work, 24 years old, has reactive airway disease and bladder issues, and he was a client of the class action lawyers, and they made an extraordinary claim for $3 to $6 million on his behalf. At the same time, they told everybody that there was nothing wrong here, you were all fine to come home, and nobody can get sick. So that's why calendars, monitor your own health. I'm not saying you will all get sick. I'm not saying that all of your attorneys are bad. I'm not saying any of it. I'm sharing my knowledge with you. I'm giving you what to look for, and I'm saying take your time. That's all. Take your time. Make sure you're well. That's it. Don't be in a hurry. These things can take a while. That's it. I'm not in a hurry. You call me in a year. I'll still be here. You know, take care of your health. Don't be a phone call to me saying, I wish I would have listened. I've had enough of those for a week. I don't mean to be a downer. I'm just here to tell you the truth. It's been a really rough week. I don't know, something about a 23-year-old with thyroid cancer looking to remove her thyroid. Like, I don't even think she begins to know what chaos that's going to bring to her life for a little while, till they get her stabilized. And she's 23. Single, hasn't had a baby yet, nothing.
Did you use the same strategy in East Palestine?
No, I was too late.
Okay.
That's the problem. I live with the knowledge that they called us in too late. For me to...
Was it past the statute?
It was past the opt-in date for the class action. So people had already opted in because they thought there was no other choice for them. Because the attorneys had told them they would never find an attorney who could prove that their sickness was a result of the chemicals, and they believed them.
So it was too late because the clients already signed up for the other lawsuit.
They signed up, they did not opt out, and they opted into those medical benefits because they thought there was just, that was it. And I was too late. So I go around the country and I tell people the story of East Palestine, because that way I equipped you with facts, and what you do with them is up to you.
Have you seen any of the same law firms from East Palestine here for the Moss Landing case? Because I think I haven't seen any, but I was just curious if you have.
I don't think that I've seen those. I've seen similar, but I've seen those in Louisiana and in
Conyers.
In Conyers. In fact, in Conyers, they're already trying to settle the case. There you go. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you very much.
I'm hoping you at least got some decent information.